Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, here with Joe Davis, Got Baseball Cards. We're going to talk about just the kind of the ripple effect of what Joe has seen in the industry, and I've seen too, and other people maybe are talking about it. But we're going to kind of flesh it out that as we've seen some of the huge, biggest stars prices increase, there's been not trailing very far behind, but there's been some ripple effect to the next tier of stars. So we'll flesh that out across the sports with Joe after thanking sponsors, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins and Scott Auctions, Topps, Panini, and Upper Deck. I can safely say that all of the sponsors are impacted by this topic. Any positive news for Michael Jordan, for example, Joe, is now apparently good for all basketball stars because that's the rising tide that's raised all the boats. So have you ever seen anything like this? And welcome to the show, Joe.
Yeah, it's great to be back, Jim, and look forward to sharing with your listeners today. I honestly I was telling one of my employees last week, I said, been in the hobby since, really full time, really since the late 80s when I was in college doing shows, and definitely full time since 91, but I've never seen such demand for veterans and it's specific products that people are chasing the veterans in. And I started calling it the iconic card chase because it's not really based on the player. It starts with the product, and people are buying these iconic brands. Like you mentioned, Jordan, with him, it's definitely the iconic player. But what we started seeing with Jordan was people started buying up not just his second year and third year and fourth year, but every year. And we saw tremendous demand we're seeing for like his Topps Chrome issues and his Topps Finest and some of those early Chrome cards of Jordan. We see crazy demand, and then we've seen that roll over to other players. And it feels like it started with basketball because we started seeing crazy demand for LeBron, like his first Prism card, and then early Finest and Chrome cards on LeBron. And the ripple effect has rolled over. Go ahead.
These are his 10th year cards.
Oh yeah.
So it used to be the rookie and second and third maybe, and now it's 10th. But if it's the right brand, the premium brand. Now, would you say that does it also apply? So brand is really important. Does it also apply to some of these in-action cards and combo cards and other specials or inserts, or is it mainly base cards of premium brands?
It's primarily base and base parallels, but the huge increase that we're seeing is the chase has been for base most of all. I mean, maybe because we don't have as many of the key parallels of these guys, and we're not seeing the orders for those. But like we're seeing demand for first year of every brand of LeBron and Brady, and I mean it's insane. A 2012 Brady Prism PSA 10 sold for over $800, and that's 12th year card, and LeBron sold for $1,800, and then I even saw a 16 Optic, which of course first year Optic Tom Brady 10 sells for over $200. I mean, that's been a $3-4 card for the last 4 years.
But raw, what are they selling for? And basically, if it's raw and would be equivalent to an 8, is that still going to be the raw price? Are people able to buy a raw card at a more reasonable price and then get it graded?
Oh yeah,
that's where it gets jacked up. If it's does it have to be at least a 9 or you got to be 9.5 and 10s?
I mean, of course, people are rolling the dice, buying them up to try to get the 10s. But I'll give you an example. One of the early cards that started this part of the shift was the 18-19 Optic LeBron, which was not his first Optic card, but it was his first Laker card. We just sold we had a PSA 10 close for over $300, and even 9s, we sold one for $50 last week. And I bought those for $2 a card raw a couple months ago, and so, or maybe 3 months ago. So not once the 10s are clearing $100, you're seeing the 9s bring in 25 or so, 25, 30. So even 9s, if you buy them at the right price, you're not going to get hurt. A lot of the kind of stuff I sent in over 1,000 cards just last week, and most of it was Chrome type veterans and older Michael Jordan cards. And mainly my goal was, as long as this is a 9, we're safe. So, and 10s will be a bonus.
Back in the day, it was 6 weeks ago, maybe that the player on the card is really, really important. That's a huge determinant of value. The condition of the card and the age of the card. But this what has happened lately is the brand,
Correct.
Premium brand, even for a base card. It's astounding, but it's welcome because, as we've said, if a hobby that doesn't appreciate base cards is not as healthy of a hobby as one where the base cards are, hey, I got this player, instead of thinking I got the player, but it's only a base card. So I'm encouraged by that.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is it's starting, like I said, with your LeBron and your Jordan and so forth, but it is trickling down to your semi-stars, to your minor stars. Like you take 12-13 Prism basketball, where the LeBron shot up so high. After that happened, we started seeing orders for Durant and then Westbrook and Curry and all the way down to some of your minor stars. And people weren't just buying a card; they were wanting everything we had in stock. So you knew that was investors saying, "I want to load up on quantities of this brand of names that I know." And it's especially true of Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers.
Right. And is it an aesthetic thing, or is it, in other words, some of these cards are outright beautiful.
Yes.
Others are just premium brands that are expensive and they're glitzy, but not necessarily beautiful. Is this partly about the aesthetics of some of these creative premium brands that I won't say spare no expense, but they're very professionally designed?
Yeah.
Great when you show them to somebody.
Right. I think that's definitely part of it. I think it's more so people are following the trend, like they go, like first year Prism in every sport. Even 2012 Prism baseball has blown up. It's not even licensed. But people are, the Trouts have blown up, the Jeters, the Griffeys, Boja. I mean, any of your iconic guys, the Hall of Famers or the people that are known well, those have taken off. First year select in every sport is taking off. And we're even seeing it, we're huge in soccer and on our website, usbreaks.com, we do tons of soccer breaks. And in the last 3 weeks, we're even seeing the chase for base cards in soccer. I mean, tons of demand for Messi and Ronaldo and, the other top stars from their first Prism product and first select product. So it's going all across all sports now.
We're in the middle of The Last Dance, and that's, I think, been an excellent example of exactly what we're talking about. Is that the emphasis on Jordan? It was kind of Jordan's team, but there wouldn't have been a Michael Jordan to the fullest, perhaps, without Scottie Pippen and Kukoc and Rodman and other Steve Kerr. But that's another example of that. What's interesting to me is because I think it was really cool. Like baseball seems to be more prospect driven. That people are optimistic that this minor leaguer or emerging big leaguer is going to have a 20-year career and be the next whatever. But basketball, it seems people hit the ground running, and most of this basketball run up is on veterans. It seems like let's say proven stars. So,
correct.
And football, perhaps. Pretty much the same, but football. What do you in your area? Do you see football lagging basketball? That basketball being kind of the cultural pace setter for our industry, and football lagging that?
It's not too far behind. Football is definitely second in terms of the chase for these. I mean, we're seeing a ton of demand for Brady, Breeze, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Peyton Manning's. I mean, Manning rookies have gone up like 600% in the last month. I mean, it's crazy. It's been certain ones I'm talking about, but again,
better brands, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like his Topps Chrome rookies have blown up, and so we're seeing, because with Panini, they both had 2012 was the first year for Prism, and then 13 was the first year for Select Football. So we're seeing a lot of demand for all the key stars out of both of those products, and then we're seeing first year Optic 2016. We're seeing a ton of demand for the first year Optic in football.
Are these some of the same cards, and not the biggest stars, but are these some of the same cards that contemporaneously, when these products came out, would have been left on the counter? I mean, not the big stars, but
we have seen we've definitely seen that change, because we've seen people drop off tons of over the years. They pull their big hits, drop off the rest, walk out the door. I think people are going to start saying, we might better hang on to those. And we started seeing that a little bit last year. People were like, hey, this is LeBron's first Laker card. This is Curry's, this is Anthony Davis's first Laker card, whatever. And so people, and like even this year, we started seeing people hang on to Luka. They're like, well, it's Luka's second year, but he's a star. I better start hanging on to that. So we have definitely seen a shift. Less and less people are just, not that anybody's been in the store for 6 weeks, but less and less people are just, more people are hanging on to their veterans, put it that way.
One of the sponsors we have is Panini, and Panini is in the unique position of having this experiment. They have basketball and they have football, and the coast is clear for both of those for them to do the best they can. And they're doing some of the same brands and same price points What advice do you have for them that football is so far behind basketball when they're doing the same stuff? Are the football guys messing up, or is basketball just emerging in our American collective consciousness?
Well, it's not even America. I mean, basketball has become the biggest global brand by far. I mean, there's so much money that comes in overseas for basketball, and you see basketball releases that are made exclusively for other countries and other areas, and so basketball is the global leader along with soccer because we are seeing, of course, we have tons of global demand for soccer, and whereas football is an American sport, we don't see orders from Japan for football cards in general. We see orders for basketball from every corner of the planet. So I think that's part of it, and two, I mean, this is you got to think about it. We've had 2 years in a row with phenomenal rookie crops. I mean, you had just you had a phenomenal year last year. You had a league changing player in Luka come along, and then Trae Young, and then of course you had Zion and Ja this year. I mean, you've had, and then I could go down the list, and them as well as I do, but you've had 2 super studs in both of the last 2 years, which has really helped drive a lot of demand for NBA product.
So football is normal, and basketball is exceptional.
Yeah, good way to look at it.
Yeah, and what is soccer like? Is soccer more like hockey? I mean, where there's perhaps less collectors, but they're very, very passionate.
I mean, on a global scale, for us, soccer is huge. I mean, we break more soccer product than we do anything else. I mean, we daily breaking soccer cases on our site, and we know that market pretty well. I mean, I personally bought up a lot of 14 World Cup singles recently because I saw this trend going on with all Prism and all the other sports. So I was like, well, the first year Prism soccer is 2014. And sure enough, we've seen the Messi, as an example, the Messi base card, which was $5-6 3-4 weeks ago. It's selling for like $30 now. And so we are seeing, as far as overall demand, soccer for us has grown tremendously. It used to be where a product would come out in soccer and I could call up my distributor or call Panini. Hey, we need, you still got some more cases of this in stock? Yeah, no problem. And now it's like, can I get XYZ of an upcoming product? And they're like, well, you're going to be allocated. We can only give you this many. So that just shows the global demand is growing when I can't just reorder. I mean, there was a lot of products that for the next year, you could still go back and replace it at original cost, but not the case anymore.
One of the things that people have learned, if they've been in the hobby a long time, is that there's an era called the junk wax, or the era of maximum card availability from back in the 80s and early 90s. And basically, if people walked into a card shop like yours and said, I've got a monster box full of cards from the late 80s, you probably, I don't know, unless they're basketball. I mean, there might be some exceptions, but in general, you maybe would not even buy them. I don't even know that you wanted to leave them behind.
Right.
However, if somebody walked in now and it's a 15-year-old kid and he says, I've got a monster box of commons and I'd like for you to make an offer for him. If you open it up and all you see is Optic, Prism, stuff from the last few years, you're probably making an offer.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I've always done, if it's recent, I've always done that. You're correct. Late 80s. Especially baseball, and to a lesser degree,
even with stars.
Yeah. It's like people call me and like, well, we have 100 of those in stock. I don't really need more. But I mean, late 80s basketball, of course, or even hockey, that's in demand. But yeah, now in modern commons, I've always actively bought back for years and years and years, thankfully. And so it's great to go back and I mean, just the other week, I had a guy bring a carload. He brought me about, I'll say the other week, it's been 2 months, I guess, since we've been closed, but he brought me probably 25,000s and he wanted, I don't remember, it's $200 or $250. And this was stuff from the last 3 years. He had stripped the big stuff. He had stripped the inserts. And so then when all the LeBron Prism stuff started taking off and the Giannis Prism stuff, I went through, there was this couple of 5,000s of 17, 18 Prism basketball. And I pulled a huge stack of LeBrons and Giannis's. I'm like, oh, paid for the whole deal. So yeah, we love buying modern commons because there's always, especially with the demand for veteran stars out of the Chrome stuff now.
Well, we're out of time, but I'll tell you what, Joe, it's hard to think about ending on a more positive note that dealers are now buying commons and eager to have recent commons walk through the door. Because again, that's the antidote for this hobby being overheated when every card can find a home.
Yeah.
And there's no cards that are junk or trash. And those are the times we're in. So thanks, Joe. Thanks, listeners. We'll be back again tomorrow with another episode. In the meantime, stay safe and enjoy this wonderful hobby.
Man